Good morning, guys. It's about 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and this is a winter hint video, and we're going to take a look at a few things, but this is really a comparison video on different models. Um, so we're going to take a look at three models. We're going to go look at the Jamstack and the Cansips, which is the Canadian, and then the CFS V2. Before I get started, for those who are new for this winter or who are returning, I'm going with a forecast of a strong subtropical jet and a cold coast to coast, west coast to east coast USA winter. So those two things I think are very likely to occur. Um, Now comparing our sea surface temps first of all of these three models, and then we'll do temps, precip, and 500 heights if we have time. This is our sea surface temperature anomalies for winter off the Jamstack, and it has pretty much a Mordecai look, the most of all Mordecai looks to all three of these models, because if you take a look at our Canadian here, this is almost too far west base to be a Mordecai because it's really just out there in the west. It's not really centrally based where you want it. But again, these two models are the most similar in this update. So again, the Jamstack and the Canadian both have similar looks, a bit different in their flavors, but definitely similar El Ninos here with the strength, intensity, and the location of where the warmest waters are located. Now taking a look at our CFSV2, this is our outlier model, and this is only in November because this is as far as it goes. It won't go past November. But this is completely different because it's east based. The warmest waters are east or in the Eastern Pacific. So again, take a look at that east based one, west based one, Canadian, and then our Jamstack has our central based one. So I'm going to kind of discard the CFSV2 because it's not in alignment with our other two. And again, I'm going to look at for comparison purposes in this video the Canadian and the Jamstack. And again, they are similar, but they are a little bit different because the Jamstack is pretty much a classic Modiki El Nino, central based, and this is really a west based. So what I would do for that is for this winter, I would tell you guys I'm looking at a west central based El Nino, which is essentially still a Mordecai, because it's central based, but just a little bit westward as well. Also, if you look at the temps for the Jamstack, it represents a true Mordecai temperature pattern because that brings a lot of cold air to the USA when you get a Mordecai. So taking a look at our temperatures, it's an extremely bitterly cold pattern for much of the USA. And then we take a look at our west-based El Nino off the Canadian model, and we take a look at our temperatures for winter. It looks like this. Again, cold, but definitely not as nearly as cold as this. That's very much more intensely cold. So again, that makes sense. The Jamstack has a Mordecai, which supports a very cold winter. So again, the alignment continues for that coast to coast cold winter. But now we looked at our sea surface temperatures. Let's take a look at our actual temperatures, starting with the Jamstack. Here's our 2-meter air temperature anomalies for this winter. Here they are. We just looked at that. Now taking a look again, we looked at this. Our Canadian 2-meter air temperature anomaly is still cold, but just not as cold as the Jamstack. And then again, this only goes out to November in our CFS monthly, but just taking a look at our monthly temperatures, very interesting, I think, how it has a lot of cold there with that east-based El Nino. But again, this is an outlier. We're not really considering this except with a grain of salt. Plus, it only goes out to November. It's not even showing the winter months, so we can kind of forget about this and just focus on these two models for now. So taking a look at our precip, it looks like this off the Jamstack, which again gives us a classic Mordecai Enso setup, El Nino setup. And again, our precip represents a strong subtropical jet, very active, energetic subtropical jet, a stormy one. So again, that would be a high MJO pulse, because MJO is essentially an energy pulse that provides the energy into the atmosphere. So you get storms with that a lot of times. And then we'll take a look at our precip for our Canadian model for winter, and it looks like this with our west-based El Nino. And again, we still have that tropical jet. So despite the differences, we're still seeing alignment, which is very telling to me that we're on to some alignment here. Which right now is the cold coast to coast. And the subtropical jet is shown on both models despite the differences in the sea surface temperature anomalies. Last but not least, the most important part of this forecast is going to be, unfortunately, we can only do this with the Canadian, looking at our 500 millibar heights. So we will do that. Pressure, upper heights. We're going to go seasonal. We're going to go to our global. Okay, so this is our upper height pattern for winter off the Canadian. And again, we have a big trough there south of Alaska. And then we have, trough where that subtropical jet would set up in the south. So ultimately, this looks pretty fairly decent to me. I don't like it 100% because it doesn't give us that classic winter cold and snow pattern based off the 500 millibar heights I'm looking at, because you want that trough a little bit farther west, south of Hawaii, so you would get a trough centered in the central part of the USA and in parts of the East and even parts of the Western Midwest. So it's not looking ideal, but keep in mind, this is one model. So we looked at the 500 heights. Last but not least, I want to take you to our outlier model. We'll take a look at that again for our 500 millibar heights and monthly. Now this looks really good. Again, a lot of troughing. There's one other model that I won't get into in this update, but it had a very healthy, solid looking 500 millibar height pattern for this winter. And based off of, my research, how things are aligning, I'm taking anything that's slightly warmer on the models and kind of turning that cold, like for 3 degrees colder than it should be, because obviously I am biased cold by now because I've seen everything line up to be cold. So if I see an outlying model that suggests warmth in any way, whether it's through the 500 millibar pattern or the sea surface anomalies or the temps, I'm going to just see that as colder. If you know what I mean, because everything's aligning cold. So if you see an outlier that's warm, you're going to kind of just bump it up cold a little bit, so it makes sense with the rest of the forecast. But that's it. We did compare the Canadian, the CFS outlier run, but overall, I'm closing with my conclusion for this winter in 3 main points. We will have an active subtropical jet, a cold USA winter, coast to coast. And again, the third thing that's factors, we do have similar sea surface temperatures aligning up, even with the Canadian and the Jamstack, which are quite different. But overall, the models are pinpointing a very strong El Nino. And they're starting to get to that point where we're seeing a Modiki El Nino, which is good, which produces a cold winter. So with that being said, I give you my evidence for this forecast. I hope you guys enjoy your day. This is Tyler's World of Weather signing off. Thank you all for watching. I look forward to this winter together with you. This is Tyler's World of Weather. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, and comment. for more long range weather content. Thank you and have a great day. Bye bye.